Federal authorities indict 6 people in the kidnapping and death of a Carthage resident.
Can lawmakers move forward with a final infrastructure vote before leaving for August recess? I'm Natalie Brend with the reasons congressional leaders and the president are optimistic.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A federal grand jury indicts 6 Southwest Missouri residents accused in a kidnapping conspiracy that resulted in the death of the victim. This is KOAM News at 5. The case is from July of last year. That's when authorities served a search warrant at a property on Cherry Road in Joplin. After a standoff, they found the body of 41-year-old Michael Hall, who had been reported missing from Carthage. At that time, they arrested Freddie Tilton in the home. Tilton had been wanted on domestic assault charges. Now Tilton and 5 others are charged in connection with Hall's kidnapping. In addition to Tilton, the suspects are Carla Ward of Joplin, Amy Thomas of Webb City, James Gibson of Neosho, Lawrence Vaughn of Newton County, and Russell Hurt of Greenwood. The indictment alleges that after Hall was kidnapped, he was bound, beaten, stabbed, and then shot to death. You can find more details on this case on KOAMnewsnow.com. Joplin hospitals continue to see an increase in COVID-19 patients. Hospital officials at Freeman held a news conference today to discuss current COVID-19 hospitalizations. Officials say this surge looks different than those in the past, noting an increase in younger patients needing treatment. They say the Delta variant and low vaccination rates are main causes.
We have 57 COVID inpatients with 10 on ventilators. So it definitely, this new Delta variant has been very strong, very virulent. It is hitting younger people. It is resulting in more seriously ill patients and unfortunately a higher level of deaths.
Officials with the hospital say among their current 57 COVID-related hospitalizations, 92% are completely unvaccinated. Health officials warn the U.S. might have to change the way it's fighting the war on the coronavirus. The Delta variant is driving up cases even among those vaccinated. The CDC says the Delta variant is as contagious as chickenpox and more transmissible than the common cold. Nick Kelly joins us for now. At least the heat continues, Nick.
Yeah, this is not the way we wanted to start the weekend out, Dow, but Mother Nature does whatever she wants. So she gave us at least a nice looking day, a little bit of passing cloud cover from 7th and range line, and not much to show at least throughout much of the day on the Skywatch storm tracker. But if we zoom in a little tighter, you notice this thin line of developing showers and thunderstorms stretching from Kansas City toward about, let's say, Lebanon or Fort Leonard Wood in south central Missouri. That's actually our next front that will be on the way, but it doesn't do anything for us this evening. We're going to stay dry for I think the vast majority of the area, but these excessive heat warnings and heat advisories continue for yet another day ahead of us, so we're not shaking the heat and humidity just yet. Everyone's in the mid-90s. Quick check of what it feels like. We're in the triple digits once again, and just like last night, a warm evening for sure before we drop back to 75. Relief, though, Dow, is on the way. We'll check the forecast here in a bit.
See you then. Tonight is the first ever Route 66 festival in Miami. KOAM's Chris Warner is live in downtown Miami with more.
Live music, a car and bike show, a 5K, and so much more. All part of this 2-day festival taking place in downtown Miami. We're actually at the corner of Main and First Avenue, and as you can see behind me, the live music stage is already set up and ready to go. Now, the concerts are free, with 8 groups performing tonight and tomorrow. Now, the event is also being attended by Oklahoma's Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell. We spoke with one of the local bands until now about being able to take part in this special event.
To be honest with you, we're mind blown with it. We've been excited for it for about two months now. We've been getting ready. We're just super excited to play in a crowd this size and play on a stage like that. So we're super excited.
The concerts are set to get underway at 6 tonight, and they'll pick up again tomorrow at 4. And of course, to help you beat the heat, there's plenty of vendors, food trucks, and even a beer garden to help keep you cool. Reporting live from downtown Miami, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Chris, thank you. A bipartisan group of senators says it's close to finalizing the details of a $1 trillion infrastructure deal and a vote on the Senate floor could come in a matter of days. But there are still questions about the Democrats' plan for a separate $3.5 trillion budget resolution. Reporter Natalie Brand has the latest from the White House.
The group of bipartisan lawmakers known as the Problem Solvers Caucus expressed optimism that the physical infrastructure bill they're working on will pass.
We're not done yet, but we're going to get this baby across the finish line.
If what we vote on looks like what we've agreed upon, it will pass.
The framework for the bipartisan legislation includes roughly $1 trillion for projects including roads, bridges, and broadband. President Biden says it also includes billions to prevent and respond to wildfires, something he discussed with a group of governors virtually on Friday.
It includes funding for prevention efforts like forest management.
But a timeline for a final vote is still uncertain. Speaker Nancy Pelosi has said the House will not take up the infrastructure bill until the Senate passes a separate Democratic budget resolution through the process known as reconciliation, which does not require Republican support.
We need to be transformative in terms of how we go forward with infrastructure investments and reconciliation bills that truly meet families' needs.
The $3.5 trillion resolution would need the support of all Senate Democrats, but Arizona's Kyrsten Sinema signaled this week she doesn't support the current price tag. President Biden downplayed her reservations.
She's on board for passing if, in fact, she sees all the pieces of it.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said the Senate remains on track to pass both the bipartisan bill and the budget resolution before lawmakers leave for August recess. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
Senate Budget Committee Chairman Bernie Sanders told reporters that he expects the Democratic budget resolution to be on the floor the week after next, and has said he believes it will pass. The Justice Department says the Treasury Department must give the House Ways and Means Committee former President Trump's tax returns, apparently ending a long legal showdown over the records. Now, during the Trump administration, then Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said he would not turn over the tax returns because he concluded they were being sought by Democrats for partisan reasons. The committee said it needed the former president's taxes for an investigation into whether he complied with tax law. Hundreds of Afghan evacuees arrived in Virginia today to begin resettling in the U.S. The flight included interpreters, drivers, and other Afghans who worked alongside U.S. troops during the 20-year war, as well as their families. The evacuation was part of the special immigrant visa program to protect Afghans from possible Taliban retaliation as the Biden administration withdraws troops from that region. Thousands more applications are in the pipeline. Still ahead, a look at distracted driving laws.
Many states have laws banning the use of cell phones while driving, but do they work? I'm Michael George with the results of a new study.
And next in Health Watch, many healthcare workers are battling fatigue and frustration as COVID cases continue to climb. Topping today's Health Watch, COVID-19 could play a role in advancing Alzheimer's in some patients. The Alzheimer's Association says many coronavirus survivors deal with loss of smell and taste, as well with persistent forgetfulness months after they've recovered from the initial illness. Researchers say new data points to the COVID-19 infections leading to lasting cognitive impairment and Alzheimer's symptoms. With COVID-19 hospitalizations climbing, many healthcare workers say they're worn out and frustrated, but they're powering ahead for their patients. Reporter Omar Villafranca spoke to nurses and doctors on the front lines at St. Dominic Memorial Hospital in Jackson, Mississippi.
The worry really never goes away.
Wendy Gwines leads the nurses in the ICU at St. Dominic's in Jackson. She's been through COVID surges before, but this one, with the Delta variant, is leaving everyone exhausted.
I'm very concerned about PTSD. I'm worried about burnout. I'm worried about them questioning their choices of going into healthcare.
The worry is mixed with grief. Earlier in the pandemic, her team lost a colleague in the same COVID unit where they all worked.
There was anger, there were tears, there were, there was frustration.
Frustration at what?
That we're here, that we're actually having to work on one of our healthcare, team members.
Dr. Reginald Martin is a surgeon here, but last year he was a patient fighting for his life.
2 weeks before my hospitalization, I rode a bike 75 miles. 2 weeks after my infection, I couldn't walk to the bathroom without getting short of breath.
How do you tell people out there you don't want this? What do you tell them?
Being in that hospital room with my O2 saturations in the 80s, being unable to breathe or take a deep breath. You know, I'll relay that story to every patient that comes in and tell them, you know, that you got to get this vaccine.
But like so many, he feels frustrated.
It's incredibly frustrating to know that you could have done something different, that you are potentially a threat to my health.
Despite the frustration, the care continues. Dr. Bharat Malhotra admits, so does the heartache.
What would happen to you if you were actually to stop and slow down and hear each individual patient's story? Do you think you could handle it?
No, I don't think so, because then there will be like so much helplessness.
One memory haunts him, a woman dying in his COVID ward, writing down her final wishes for her son.
Did you have to give those last wishes to her child, or did she?
I did.
Did she make it?
No.
Omar Villafranca, CBS News, Jackson, Mississippi.
Mississippi is currently facing one of the worst COVID outbreaks in our nation. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, 6 varieties of dog food are recalled over mold concerns.
But first, we started the weekend out on a hot and humid note, but it will not end that way. Forecast up next. Even though, as Doug always says, it's nice to always hit a Friday and get a weekend started, we just wish we didn't have to deal with the lingering and persistent heat and humidity. But just like yesterday's highs in the mid-90s, we were at it once again. And after we started around 73 this morning, back into the mid-90s so far, officially 95 at Joplin Regional. We'll check the final almanac later on this evening. But in the meantime, we just, again, kept quiet for much of the day. That being said, look at this thin line of developing showers and thunderstorms. This is actually along the edge of our next front that will be working in, but not until tomorrow. In the meantime, though, thunderstorms developing from about Harrisonville, Kansas City, stretching down to about Richland and Waynesville, closer to 44. That's where any thunderstorm chances this evening are going to stay. So to go into our Saturday, it's all about the excessive heat warnings and heat advisories still in effect until at the very latest 9 o'clock tomorrow night. But once we get into tomorrow night, that's when changes start to roll in. So once we get past a hot and humid Saturday afternoon, that next front, 2 fronts actually, I'll show you that, will bring in thunderstorm chances late Saturday into Sunday, and then behind that, staying warm, but the humidity is going to feel a lot better, certainly than where we've been over the past several days. A little passing cloud cover from 7th and Rangeline, but it looks nice. Doesn't feel nice still. 95 at Joplin feels like 101 thanks to a dew point. At least it's dropping a little bit, but still kind of up there near 69 degrees. Most of us between 91 and 97 degrees, but you factor in the dew points that are high once again. Feels like 100 in Neodesha, 102 in Lamar, 104 in Fort Scott, and maybe 99 in the Neosho. But no matter where you are, it is hot and humid again to start the evening out. It's going to be warm for up until about the midnight hour before we drop back near 80 and eventually down to 75 for tomorrow morning. So thunderstorms this evening, mainly a concern from Kansas City into the Ozarks of Missouri. I think we stay dry here, but it's still something I'll watch, including developing storms with a tornado watch out in central parts of Nebraska. Those thunderstorms as well will ride along the warm front, so we stay dry, but this is the 1-2 combination of the cold fronts that'll work on through tomorrow. Certainly it will once we see this upper level ridge start to back off toward the west as we go into late Saturday and certainly on Sunday. So what does that mean for the future track forecast? Again, the thunderstorm chances staying out in central parts of Missouri. A little cloud cover at times, but we're warm to start Saturday morning out, and we're hot and humid again for tomorrow afternoon. Breaking down the day planner, 75 in the morning, and then back into the heat and humidity. 92 by noon, and highs near 96. But note the thunderstorm might come by 4 o'clock. I think with the first front working through, we could see a few isolated storms pop up as early as 4 or 5 o'clock. But then with the second front coming in, we're going to see a better shot for more scattered storms. And some of these could be strong with some small wind and some hail. But once we get that line to push on through before we head into Sunday afternoon, look at the temperatures behind it, dropping back into the mid-80s for Sunday afternoon. and looking a lot better as we kick off August next week. 96 for tomorrow, but with the high heat indices again, we'll leave an alert day up. We'll also watch for the thunderstorm chances Saturday evening going into Sunday morning, but look at these numbers, Dow. Mid-80s for a good portion of next week and lows back in the 60s. Like I said last night, our patients will be rewarded soon enough.
About time.
Yes.
Thanks, Nick. Coming up, a look at the effectiveness of distracted driving laws in preventing crashes. First, though, we honor a local veteran. John Melton served in the U.S. Army Air Corps from 1945 to 48. Parsons, Kansas native was stationed in Germany, and we salute Private First Class John Melton, a four-state hero. Topping today's Consumer Watch, 6 dog food varieties are being recalled because they may contain toxic levels of mold. All of the affected products include deboned chicken and rice. They were made by Sunshine Mills and have a best buy date of February 11, 2022. No adverse health effects have been reported. Unused food can be returned for a full refund. Concerns about the highly contagious Delta variant of the coronavirus have brought about an uptick in the sale of masks. Although mask sales had been steadily declining over the past several weeks, there's been an about face. As of Tuesday, mask sales were up 24% over the previous week. Facial coverings have begun to disappear from store shelves as people got vaccinated and COVID-19 case numbers had dropped, but a spot check of businesses has shown mask sales are now on the upswing. In 2019, more than 3,100 people were killed in accidents involving distracted driving. Many states have laws against using devices when behind the wheel. Reporter Michael George has results from a new study that looked at how effective they are.
New York State police officers said goodbye to one of their own in April. Trooper Joseph Gallagher was putting flares on the side of the road when a car hit him. Investigators say the driver was texting at the time. Joel Feldman knows the pain of that loss. His daughter Casey was killed by a distracted driver in 2009.
The world is certainly not so well off after her death. She would have made a big difference.
Most states have some kind of ban against texting or calling while driving, but 21 states have gone a step further, enacting laws against all handheld cell phone use, including calling, texting, and using apps.
These comprehensive laws, are they working?
Yes, they are working.
Dr. Motao Ju with Nationwide Children's Hospital is lead author of a new study that found comprehensive hands-free laws prevent about 140 driver deaths and nearly 14,000 driver injuries each year.
But laws that only ban texting or calling aren't nearly as effective. Researchers recommend all states adopt rules that prevent drivers from handling phones, especially teenagers.
They have the highest crash risk, so they shouldn't use any cell phone at all while driving.
I don't accept that people won't give up phones. What I say is we haven't reached them the right way.
Feldman now speaks to drivers of all ages and even young children about the dangers of being distracted behind the wheel.
We're teaching little kids how to speak up. Mommy, Daddy, I love you, but I don't feel safe when you look at your phone while driving me.
Feldman says laws are helpful, but it's up to individuals to prioritize safety and put down the phone. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
A final check of the forecast next. The CBS Evening News is next. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to hear more from area health officials about the rise in COVID hospitalizations. Plus, construction on the Cornell complex in Joplin hits a big milestone. And we continue our staycation series with a trip to the Ginger Blue Inn in Noel, Missouri. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. You've been seeing a lot of those red alert day graphics in our forecast, and we have at least one more of those still ahead.
Yeah, and it's primarily due to another hot and humid day ahead of us, Dow. Heat advisories, excessive heat warnings certainly applies for tomorrow, since we'll have highs back near 96 and high humidity in places as well. But 2 fronts on the way, Saturday night and through Sunday morning. Not only will that bring thunderstorm chances that we'll have to keep an eye on, but behind it, highs in the 80s, lows in the 60s. That's not a bad way to kick off the month of August.
No. Lower temperatures and the chance of rain both certainly welcome right now.
We'll take it.
Thanks for joining us. CBS Evening News is next. We'll see you right back here at 6. Let's make it a great evening.